you have a core product, right? Like there is something that you want to do, but then you begin to see pathways towards achieving that. Um, um, in business lingo, we call it flywheel. So you have this thing that enables this thing, and then enables this thing, and then they kind of reinforce themselves. Um, so we talk about shortage. There's no way you can train 1 million people. You understand? And we also know the limitation of technology, so we had to layer it with other initiatives to strengthen the core of what those teachers are getting. So the Black Belt program, which is our signature program, is the basic. You understand? It's like your ticket to the arena, and then you build from it. So you need to ask yourself at that beginning, like, okay, you have all of this landscape. You could be anywhere, but then even if you were government, so I mean, no matter how big, you don't have the resources to be everywhere. You needed to ask yourself certain questions. What's my starting point?
Welcome to another edition of the Africa Education Show, where we spotlight and chronicle the stories of individuals doing amazing work in education. Today, we are looking at a key conversation in education in Africa: teachers. I don't know where I want to take it from. Teacher shortage, about 15 million teachers needed in Africa by 2030. Then there is teacher quality. Then there is continuous professional development. Then there is even creating career paths. And then there's recruitment methodology. And then there is compensation. A lot of it. But there is one man that has taken a mission to do something in this space: 1 million teacher. And I have the co-founder here with me on the set. Welcome, Hakeem.
Thank you, Elvis. Thank you very much.
I will not go into my first question, but I want to ask, what has the last 72 hours been like for you in the line of duty?
Uh, I've been traveling mostly, attending graduation events. So got to Nigeria 3 days ago. I think that was on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Um, was in some meetings, and then a day after, traveled to Ibadan. That was on Friday. Went for a graduation event in Ibadan, and then yesterday we had another graduation event in Lagos. So yeah, my 72 hours.
So that is Hakeem for you. Typically, it's all over the place for teachers. Now, proper, let's know, Hakeem. On the Africa Education Show, we like to know about your education from the list that you can remember. You can remember your nursery school, we'll be happy, to the highest, and then we will go into your work.
Okay. So this is nostalgic for me. I was born in Ebutimeta. A lot of people don't know.
And this is being recorded in
Ebutimeta, yeah. Number 22 Berkeley Street. I will never forget. I schooled in the north. I think when I was 5, 6. Um, Came back to Lagos in and out. My parents lived in Lagos all the while. I remember my grandmom was living with us at Ebutimeta, and I was her first grandchild, and my dad was her only child, so nobody could touch me. And my dad became very frustrated that, okay, that I think this guy, he needs to stay with my cousin. So that's kind of how they tricked me, more or less, that we were going on a vacation. And the man left me and came back on his own. So anyway, so that's how I schooled. I started schooling at Lady Luck. I don't know if Lady Luck still exists. Lady Luck it exists? Okay.
Yes.
That's where I started. I started schooling at Lady Luck. I remember the uniform. I think blue, brown, khaki, like that, with our Cortina shoes and socks. Yeah. So back and forth. I went to like three different primary schools, maybe four even. And then I eventually came back to Lagos, did common entrance exam like most people. I remember I had the option to go to Federal Government College, Mina, or Command. I did NMS exam, I did Air Force military school, all of those. Eventually, I chose Command Kaduna. So I went to Command Kaduna. That's where I was until from GS1 to SS3. And I came back, um, wanted to study chemical engineering. That didn't happen. By the way, just to digress, I've never been a serious person. I did the very bare minimum to just get to the next stage. So
I can't believe
yeah,
that.
yeah. I was a chronic underachiever. So anyway, so I played through, did do jam and all of that. So I think the shock of like, man, you mean I didn't go from we finishing WAEC immediately to university was, I think it kind of affected my ego. Like I knew I mean, if I knew how to crank it up when I needed to, so anyway, by that time I decided that I was going to study finance. So I chose finance for my jam next. Went to learning. It's very funny. It's a very funny story. My friend and Babajide Manua. I don't know if you know Dr. Manua. So Jide and I, we grew up together. We used to like go everywhere. So in one of our aimless walking, we were in a corridor just playing around. Also, he said he wanted to see his dad to collect pocket money or something like that. And we're like, that's Dan office. Let's go there. Maybe our admission, you won't believe it. I got into like the reception area, my letter, my name, my admission letter too. It was sitting on the table. They were going to dispatch it that same
Interesting.
day. Yeah.
So you
Um,
pick it
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. So I told them, that's me. Like they said, no, that go and bring evidence. So I ran back home. When it came back that same day, and then I picked my letter. So they didn't have to post it. And so that's kind of how my university education started. But of course, I skipped a few things in between. Um, so in secondary school, I don't know what you know about command secondary school. Like we're more pseudo military school,
Yes.
so like it was hell. But I think that foundation and then the quality of education that we had kind of shaped everything that I became. I was never somebody who would study for exam and all of that, except last minute crash. I was always reading novels, so I had this group of friends. We're always competing. We finished all the pace setters, primary school, like, oh, we've done this, all the James Hadley Chase,
Yes.
we moved to Jeffrey Archer, we moved to Daniel Steele, we moved to Robert Ludlum and
Wow.
all of that, so I was that. So I think to a very large extent, those um, um, early exposure to things like that kind of they were very distracting because you could be in class studying or paying attention, and you're hiding and you're reading your novel, normal time and all of that. So those were the kind of people I hung out with and in school. Yeah, um, yeah, it was pretty tough. In a boarding house, you feel abandoned by your parents, like
Yes.
yeah, but it shaped you. And some of my closest friends are still people that I went to secondary school with, and I think this changed my perspective. Kind of, I saw the importance of foundational education because of my own experience. You can't build on nothing. So even with the way we've designed 1 million teachers, eventually the focus is on that foundational level of education, the basic education, which is really what you need to function in society.
Thank you, Hakeem. So upon graduation from University of Ilorin, where did life take you to?
Um, Somehow, in school, as I told you, I was very distracted. Just I and I didn't know it. I was telling a friend of mine, Patrick and Cynthia, they were like, okay, maybe a digression. There's something we're working on, and all of that, without me realizing it, it was almost like all of the pieces
That
eventually
has all
it's
come
coming
together.
together. And I didn't know it at that time. I was already envisioning like the kind of work I wanted to do, where I would live. Like I didn't know it. And I didn't understand that it was all of these influences, all these books over time.
that you were
I
reading.
was big on, the likes of, what's this guy, Think and Grow Rich,
Great, yeah.
um, Dale Carnegie, how to, yeah. I think university, I moved on to those kind of things from reading novels mainly. And around that time was when I started playing chess really actively and Scrabble and all of that. Um, so when I finished, barely scraped by again, just enough. But I remember when we got our NYC call up, and my friend and a few unserious folks like myself will be laughing at, like, you mean all your study? You still got to like people like us that were unserious, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But I found out that you have significant moments in your life that you needed to crank it up, and one was me wanting to go to certain schools that I knew I had to compete, the common entrance exam and all of that. So, and then I went back to my regular comfort zone, just sit on the bed, read novel and all of that. And then when the reality, that you mean I didn't make the cutoff for, if I didn't have to do WIC twice and I had all of my papers and all of that. I was very fortunate. I was purely a science student, but I was very fortunate that I did geography and economics. So that gave me the latitude
The
to be able to
leeway.
switch without having to take those exams in WIC. So that was why I was able to switch to finance. Um, so yeah, so I I think that notion had started kind of affecting me, and I didn't want to come back. How people influence their posting to Lagos and other choice places. I didn't bother. So I went to Isialangwa. I was posted to Abia State, and I didn't try to change it. Many of my friends, influenced their posting, but I just didn't bother. Um, so we did our orientation at Isialangwa, and then I was eventually posted to um, Arochukwu.
Okay.
So I remember the school, Amu V Comprehensive School. So I was teaching economics um, and accounting. I hated accounting.
And here you were teaching it.
Yeah, I was. They needed. Anyway. So yeah. So I think that particular year was like what I could call my own gap year, because away from my parents, I think I only traveled down out of that location maybe once, maybe when I traveled to Aba, or like a much older friend. Um, he was at the Eket,
That's
the
Akwa
the
Ibom
mobile
State.
guys here. So he was working at mobile producing. So once in a while I would just go, but that was largely, so most of that year I spent really just reading stuff, not trying to do anything. And I think I could say that, just looking back, that was also the year that I grew the most. I soaked in so much. Like on the average, I was reading 3 books on the average in a week. Around that time, yeah, it was almost like me disappearing from the whole world. I remember a few of my friends, like, they can't believe, like, you're not even coming. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't into, like, yeah, I didn't see anybody. So I eventually came back to Lagos after NYC, and my very good friend, so his older brother he was initially at PwC, and then they were part of the transformation team that came to help to revive Owena Bank, Omega Bank, and yeah, so he's the HR person. So yeah, so he told me about, okay, that they were going to recruit, and but the recruitment, I don't know, usually it happens about maybe once a year and all of that. So, but it was like, well, there's a particular project that they were going to call it fixed asset verification for the bank, and that if I could do that, I'm like, yeah. I mean, around that time, people within my age bracket, people who graduated, everybody was already, most of them served in the bank, were already writing, entrance exam application,
Exams. Yes.
intercontinental, whatever, everybody was just writing. So yeah, so that was what I did, and that gave me an opportunity to be on that project. It was a 4 month project, so I got to travel with the audit team, the fixed asset audit team across their branches in the country. So that was what gave me the opportunity to uh, see Meduguri and other places in the north, uh, uh, so for work, and then eventually um, I uh, wrote the entrance exam. I mean, among many, Diamond Bank, even CBN. But I don't know why. But, that's a story for another day. Like, I think my nature already told me that I wasn't the kind of person that's cut out for working with government. I know how disappointed my dad was when he heard that I refused to go for the next stage of the CBN exam. I'm like,
Exam.
by then I was already in that. I'm like, man, the way I saw civil servant, I'm like, I can't exist in this kind of environment. Yeah, they would literally throw me out. Anyways, so I left Omega Bank um, and I got into the Guarantee Trust Bank training program. Um, you were there, you saw Tutu and
Yes.
all of that. So that changed me. I remember the first, after writing the exam, there's like the panel interviews and all of that, and there's one-on-one. One of my great mentors now, Mrs. Olushoga, she was the chairman of Access Bank. So she was the general manager then. So there's really a one-on-one where you eventually meet the MD and all of that. And I remember very well. Auntie Moon stopped talking and she looked at me. She said, "If you were this good, how come you got a 2-2?" And that was another wake-up call. So I talk about three areas,
Yes.
common entrance and then jam that
Yeah.
humbled me and all of that. And by the way, the second time I rocked it, I won't tell you what I scored, but that I didn't need
Oh,
anybody to intervene.
impressive.
I told you how my letter was even waiting and all of that. So
Yes.
so so I knew that when I set my mind to those kind of things, it was so. And that statement was almost ringing in my head when we got to training school. That it was training school. I was the overall best student all round, won several prizes and things like that. And I said, so that was another thing. And then I went back to my comfort zone again. That's the typical. But well, honestly, by the time I started working, that had changed significantly. I kind of got a sense of, what I wanted to be, and it was a really challenging environment. I don't know. Can I
Okay,
go?
that's
I should
fine. So
continue.
how long were you in Guaranteed
I
Trust
left
Bank?
in. It's funny. So when we finished training school, I was posted to the head office at Oyinjolaimi. So there was this new unit that started called it was under investment banking. Um, um, we call it FI unit. So they have financial institutions unit.
Okay.
So there was one in head office, which is Oyinjolaimi, one in Port Harcourt, and I think one in Abuja and one in Broad Street. All the major financial centers in the country. So it was they were starting a FI clearing unit. So that was where I was posted, and I remember very well. Um, Almost shortly after I resumed, overall unit head and my own unit head, my team leader, they both were pregnant, two leaders, and they were going on maternity leave. That was my first baptism of fire. That's just being left on your own to
So
sink or
you
swim.
feel the role.
Yes, it was really difficult. I could say that I have some trauma from my first um, retreat that I attended, where I had to present our unit's budget. I mean, like I just came out of training
The
school for God's
training,
sake.
and
Yeah,
there
like
you
yeah,
were occupying
and
such.
yeah. So it was yeah. I don't want to talk about the details. So there are too many people and they're all still alive. But
Yes.
honestly, yeah, it was
So
horrible.
in a nutshell, how
Yeah.
many years were you there
So
for?
I left in 2020 uh, 2004. I
2004.
remember, okay, so there was a reorganization and then the bank started a regional structure. So um, I was posted to Abeokuta. I think that was in 2003. 2003 or 2004. I can't remember exactly now. But yeah, so to start, so we call it Advantium Banking. So we started the retail in that branch. But with the understanding that the bank was expanding, that they were going to set up in Osun State. Um, and somehow they found out that I was from Osun State, from Oshobo, and Oshobo is the capital of Osun State. And so they started building the branch, and they said
Yes.
it's time to go. So I didn't spend more than 5 months in Abeokuta, so we had to go and start the Oshobo branch. This is me. I was just newly promoted to assistant banking officer. Do you understand? And that was the kind of environment that Guarantee Trust was at that time.
So
It's
the
from the
engineer
training school,
growth.
yeah, they throw you down into the deep end of the pool, sink or swim, and you begin to see, you take on leadership roles so early in your career. Yeah, I remember some people being skeptical that, oh, they're too young, they're too early, that, this is a position that maybe people who have spent like 10 years in the industry, that's about where they get into that kind of position. But here you are, having to step up to this, be responsible for maybe like 60, 80 plus employees within your bank and all of that. So that's, yeah, you grow fast in those kind of situations.
Yeah. So while researching for this interview, a lot of people from that Oshun branch, they talked about the leadership qualities you instill with them. um, and then they also talked about your first investment in education.
Mm.
You started a school there.
Yeah,
Can you tell us about
yeah,
that?
yeah. So yeah, talking about the leadership question, and you read all of these books. I'm sure you're familiar with many of them. I read a lot of books, and I think by that time I took more than a passing interest in leadership and all of that. I don't know why. I kind of saw myself. I wasn't even in secondary school or university. I was never into anything. In fact, the first role I played was. Uh, it happens that that friend who was association president, we're also working together now. We're working at Creators Bank, but that was the social committee just to organize a event. But I was never into anything. Like I was very irresponsible. Like I mean, I never. But over time I found out that it's only because I wasn't passionate about those issues. When I'm passionate about something, then, or
You give
yeah,
your all.
exactly. So I went into Abeokuta. In Plural House, I was like literally like a one-man unit for a long time. When I went to Abeokuta, I had my first team that I had to lead, and some things happened that kind of tested who I was going to become. Learning to fight for your people. Um, I remember recommending one of my team members for promotion that was being promoted, where my own boss wasn't recommending me, couldn't fight for me. You know, so I couldn't defend me for promotion. But I felt that it was the right thing to do, and that person was going to get into my level. Do you understand? So early on, I saw a whole lot of stuff about how not to be a leader, that prioritizing the care, caring for your people more than anything, making sure that you got their back and they know that. So when I went to Oshobo, all of those things were already forming, and yeah, it was one of my biggest growth period. It was in Oshobo that I met my wife. It was in Oshobo that so the whole idea of schooling was because we were looking for a daycare, and I got sucked into it. Uh, but when I was in Plural House, I don't know if the crèche is still there or they moved it to another place or whatever. But on the second floor, um, the most beautiful crèche you could ever imagine, at least for me. And I know quite a number of people, women, love to guarantee trust, love to work there, if simply because of the credit. They knew that their kids will get the best care. So having been exposed to that,
That
I was kind of
can
playing
I
more
do
than a
something
passing
like
role to make
this?
sure that, yeah, like I know what I know, I know what I've seen. Like if you're going to have a daycare, it might as well be of this. So
Quality.
yeah, it has to be. This kids have to be. So that was how I got involved from the design and everything like that. And I gradually got sucked in. I don't know how much detail you want to know, but
Yeah,
but but but, but that formed the foundation of what
yeah.
eventually
So
became.
that's fine. And we do this on the education, on the Africa Education Show for a reason. Background in finance, initial professional career in banking, but you are on this show today
Mm.
because of your work with 1 million teacher.
Mm.
How did this all begin
From that school for me.
in Oshobo?
Yes. So we relocated to
2003,
Canada.
2004?
I think we set up the school in 2000. Oh, by the way, I was headhunted out of Guarantee Trust Bank.
By
I don't know how people got word that there's this guy. We were the
Magic
first new
Maker.
generation bank in that place. So somehow, they offered something that was like twice my salary. So I jumped ship.
Oh.
Yeah, but culture. When we talk about culture, eating strategy for breakfast. Um, it's not the person. You can take somebody who is extremely good and you take them into a different setting, and you see that in football team, soccer.
Yes.
And if the conditions are not right, you're not going to thrive. So I think after that experience, I kind of knew that there's no place that I could ever work that was going to be like Guarantee Trust Bank with everything they gave me. Uh, I mean, there was a time where in relationship management school, just relationship management for a whole month of training, like no work. That was the kind of environment I was coming from. So to go from there, it's like from Rolls Royce to Toyota, that kind of thing. Like, it just wasn't a fit. Um, but yeah, we did good. It was really good. But um, anyway, back to the school, and then we relocated. It's
To
funny,
Canada.
to Canada. Um,
What became of the school?
um, I don't know, and I'll tell you why I say I don't know. I took a very painful decision to say, you know what? A time comes when you look at all that you've lost and you say no more, and that you don't want to keep throwing good money after bad. And that was the decision that I came to, because we had relocated and it was just burning money. And there was a term that we lost about 90 students. And we later realized that the school is still existing, by the way, in a different name. Somebody else took it over. But we found out that parents, I mean, people who confided, a lot of people went through like 4 managers within 2 years after we relocated. But they said the reason why we had our kids in the school was because you guys were there.
Yeah.
And if you're no longer there, so there was no basis, these people don't get it, like all kinds of issues. But we also found out that people have certain expectations. It was about who you were, and the moment you were no longer there, they didn't see anybody that was good enough in their
Oh,
eyes. Yeah, so no matter how well they did, they just were not happy. They just were not satisfied. So um, I took that personal decision to say, you know what, um, I don't want to be involved. My wife and I ran it, so I'm like, well, I want to exit, and but the emotional investment that she had in it,
yes.
she couldn't let go. And I'm like, see, this is going to run aground, like if you don't let it go. You understand? But and that's also something that I like. I that over time that I've learned to nothing, material things, anything. I'm willing to lose anything. Um, I don't allow anything to be something that almost becomes something I worship. I don't care. When it's time to move on, like just don't things don't matter to me. And it took a while to realize that, and I think that was the decision that I took. Like, you know what, enough. Like I don't want to know. So eventually somebody bought it over, but I vow that, like, a conversation about the school is taboo around me. Like, I've already said my piece. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
it. I don't want to hear any issue around it. This is gone, done, and I've moved on since then.
So new life in Canada.
Exactly. So, but you have some uh, trauma. So, by the way, in 2001, this my mentor. He's in Canada now. He's the director of HR in Ottawa, in the Ministry of Training or Human Resources. So he took me. I'm the first child of my family, so he was the big brother that I didn't have. So I was always used to finding my own path. So, but he was the big brother who literally adopted me, more or less, like just took me under his wing. So even when I left for Guarantee Trust, and then shortly after he relocated to Canada, and he was always on my case. Every email he writes, Hakeem, have you applied yet? It was a federal skilled worker program that time, and he was always on my case. Eventually, just to get him off my back, I
Apply.
said yes, and I just left it like that. It took 11 years after for us to relocate. So many things, lots of. Anyway, so when you go to that place, and there are certain things you leave behind, and you won't even realize why you seem to, whatever it is that you do, seem to be going back to that same thing.
That you
I
had
was,
left.
yeah, I had left the industry. I was doing training. By the way, I ran a microfinance bank. I don't know if enough people know. I was CEO. I did consultancy for 3 microfinance bank, like set up from the ground up in my
Amazing.
consultancy work and training. So The one I ran was the part of the consultancy was like, say, come and run it then, you know. So I was there for like 2 years, built it up from scratch, all the credit manuals, we wrote everything. Yeah, I remember Akin, who was our company secretary. He was after he left too, so he was interviewing for a position at First Bank, and for legal, he's a lawyer, right? So he's the director for what's now the CIBN. He's the director for compliance or something like that. So he was talking. It was at the interview, and they couldn't believe how much work he had done. Like just fresh out of university,
Okay.
like you mean like board meetings and all of that, and that was like, so sometimes you are grateful that you have this early exposure. I mean, I
Exposure,
was in a
yes.
boardroom with people who were older than my dad, you know, and you know, you had to, like, your learning curve was very steep, you know, like first general manager, deputy vice chancellor, OAU, you know, top industrialist, chairman of EcoBank. Those were the people that I was reporting to on my board. So you imagine what that does to you
To
at
you.
that age. Yeah. So anyway, so Uncle Tunde would be harassing me. Eventually, I applied and I sent everything. Then it was Ghana. So, and before I left Nigeria, I started doing some training. So a few of my friends, when they get jobs, they're like, okay, you can do this. And so that was
Yes.
kind of how we shared the work. So one of those, it's funny, the current governor of Lagos State was the, the commissioner for establishment and training at that time. So it was within his circle, one of his friends, they had a training company. So I was the one who did the training. And then from my experience at Tiny Tots, that our school, working with
Yes.
these teachers, and then being exposed to Lagos State teachers that I thought were like, yeah, you know, and I'm like, I was shocked. Like, wow, so this is really bad. And this is Lagos State that is
Yes.
supposed to be like
That's
the
a big,
center of excellence.
and the pace
And this
setter.
is the attitude and the kind of conduct of teachers and what they knew. And it really shocked me. And so that's kind of what really, really eventually drove me and my team. Rizma is around. She's in Nigeria with us, and so many other people, you know, who eventually founded 1 Million. So it was that kind of what you left behind and what you knew, and you found out that it's actually a much deeper problem. You know, a lot of times you know only something within your circle, and then as you begin to dig further, you find out that wow, this is a much bigger issue. You know, when you started, you said 15 million. Our own reference point was, I think it was this data that was published by the UNESCO Institute of Statistics, talking about 70 million, 69 million actually, 70 million, you know, I just, and then sub-Saharan Africa, 17 million, and all of that. So that was the kind of data that we also were exposed to. And, you know, you begin to see that, wow, in terms of, and you alluded to it at the beginning, it's not even about the quantity, but also the quality. So that was really the thing. And um, there are lots of conversations that eventually led to even becoming 1 million teachers. Then
So the
there
name, I've always been interested in that name.
is the most harebrained idea that anybody will ever told you. There was no thinking, there was nothing behind it. It was like, we're going to train 1 million teachers. Just and the reason for that is probably so in 2017 Canada was celebrating 150 years as a federation, and there was a whole lot of conversation around global citizenship and what Canada's relationship with the world is. You hear words like globalization, you know, a
Yes.
lot being thrown around, and yeah, it was around that. And so Kingston, where I was schooling at that time for my master's, and I was living, was also part of it. So Ontario is a province in Canada, you know. So there were all kinds of local initiatives about, you know, uh, audacious, you know, and all of that. So a group of business leaders within Kingston also wanted to, you know, to position Kingston on the global map. Like, you know, this is a place that had a, you know, like Kingston is a city of less than 130,000 people or thereabouts, and you'll be amazed at what happens there. You know, punching way above, has one of the best universities in the world, particularly when it comes to education, Queens, and all of that. the Royal Military College, which is like the Defense Academy in Nigeria, is actually in Kingston. And you met my friend, right, Patrick? So there's also St. Lawrence College where he's been, and yeah. So it's all of that, and part of that conversation. So somebody heard from the my faculty, my program director, about what we're doing, what we're talking about doing, you know, about wanting to do stuff in education, to support teachers and things like that. Uh, um, so so conversation started, and I remember his name, the director of that initiative, Grant Goodwin. And I was like, yes, we're going to be audacious. We're going to be one MT. We're going to train 1 million people. I'm like, so what exactly do you mean by one MT? Like, nobody knows it. I said, see, yeah, you first of all, we need to educate the world. So, okay, I agree. We're going to train 1 million teachers. But later we can transition to calling one MT when people are familiar with one MT.
Yes.
So you see how we came back full cycle now. Like now we refer more ourselves more as one MT, which was the original thing, but we needed to educate the world. So that was where it started from. So there was no thinking or anything. It was just trying to do something audacious that was going to galvanize global action. I mean, who trains 1 million people? Even the faculties of education, maybe the largest ones, maybe they have 200 students in any cohort, right?
Yes.
And now you want to, so obviously technology has to play a role in it,
In it.
in one shape or form. So that was really the thinking. So how do you even train 1 million people? So yeah, um, yeah,
So train a million people,
yeah.
but not teachers really. How was it a niche down to that?
It was teachers.
Okay, 1 million
Yeah,
teachers.
and so by the way, I went to University of Windsor. I did another degree,
Okay.
but this time I was focusing on entrepreneurship and strategy, commerce and all of that. Because in fact, I think I still have it somewhere that I wanted to set up an enterprise hub similar to what you have today, like CC Hub and all of those kind of
Okay.
things. Yeah, way back, even in university, I had all of those in the design, and that village also in the design, the farming community. I had all of those written somewhere.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that enterprise. So that was why I wanted to focus on that. So shortly after I finished that program, that was when I went to Coins. So I wanted to, like, the frustration of, like, if you don't have access to good teachers, is there a way we can reach the students directly? So I was thinking of content on devices. Something I forgot to mention is OES. I was a consultant with OES, the Ocean State
I
Youth Empowerment,
remember. Oh
and
yes.
exactly. So, and there was a project, the Okmoimo tablets. You see,
Yes, in
there were
Ocean
a lot
State.
of lessons
Were you part
that,
of that?
yes, I was. I used to come from Canada to
I
Nigeria.
will bring a consultant to
Yeah,
this show.
yeah. So there was so much learning, and I think it was from that experience that I knew that whatever we did, we're not going to ever go into hardware. Let other people solve other problems. Let's just
Focus on
zone in. Yeah,
content.
yeah. So the initial idea was about finding, yeah, curating those content. Content is hard to create, but curating, and put it on a device and have it accessible to people. But, in a place like Nigeria, how many people can afford? So I also did a certificate in social impact, and the director and I, we used to be really, really talk a lot. And in one of our sessions, and like, well, yeah, this is all well and good, but we need to, like, have our teachers, like, people nudging you, however subtly. But then that was the reason why you were thinking of having this thing on devices and making it available to students in the first place. So imagine you now working with teachers.
Yes.
In physics, we talk about leverage, right? You apply a
Yes.
lever, you're able to lift something bigger than you could ordinarily. We talk about multiply effect in economics. It's the same thing. Where do you apply the least effort to achieve the most results?
Outcome.
Yeah. So that's why that was kind of where, like, just everything just came together. Yes, let's do teachers.
So how many years so far on it?
2017, I would say that we launched in 2017, but it took about 3-4 years after to eventually create all the content to get us to the point where we felt satisfied enough that we had what was needed at the bare minimum to support educators, something that was relevant to the reality, not the curriculum that was, several decades old, that is not adapted for the reality of
For the
teachers. So we had a
changing
lot of
world.
conversation. Obviously, um, Queen's University Faculty of Education was very strategic to that, because we worked with them very closely. They helped us develop that program framework. The framework is more like the branch where you now put the leaves on. Because you needed to have that. Like, how is this going to be organized? What's going to be the sequence? What do they need to know first, and all of that. So it took a while, to get through all of that. And but we had made a lot of noise as part of Canada's 150. We were on TV, we were everywhere, and which was a problem. When you announce yourself to the world, you're shaming also. When you fail, you're going to fail spectacularly. So
Interesting.
so you live through that fear. On the surface, people don't see it, but you're living it. Like, wow,
Internally.
yeah. I mean, I've questioned myself many times, like, what's I don't want to use the bad word, but what did I get myself into? I know. But at a point, you know that it's too late to turn back, and this is all in. Um, we sink or swim with this ship, and all of that. So
So I mean, just 3 days in Nigeria, you've done Ibadan, you've done Lagos, there are other cities. So it's not just a Nigerian thing. First time I heard about 1 million teachers was even in Rwanda. So how did this thing just grow to become a continental movement today?
so yesterday Lagos, Friday Ibadan, next Saturday Abuja, they have their own graduation, and then after that Kano the week after, and then we have Meduguri graduation, and then Kigali graduation, and then yeah, so it's a
Wow.
busy period, and the graduations are very, very important. Obviously, we need to celebrate teachers. It's about we talk about the 1MT three pillars, the anchors. That is, how do we attract them into that profession? How do we ensure that they continue to train, and how do we keep them motivated? So this is all part of it. And obviously, we started from Nigeria. From that was the focus. But we knew that we could leverage it beyond Nigeria. But the focus was Nigeria. We started with a few teachers, and somehow it was mainly through word of mouth. When you're a startup, you're bootstrapping all the time. You don't have access to resources. Um, yeah, most of everything is friends, support, family, colleagues. A substantial part of whatever it is that you have, that was what kept it going. But at the early stage, we looked at the host market segments. Remember, I also teach, right? And we have to practice what we teach. I'm a student of entrepreneurship. Like, bare minimum, I would say that I'm a startup person at heart. I love starting. I love startup. I love the energy that comes out of it. And when you start like that, you begin to ask yourself certain questions. You look at the whole landscape. It's easy to say, oh, we want to train 10 million, 5 million, and all of that. But where do you start from? Where's your um, Normandy beach? And so the analogy is that during Second World War, the Allied forces, I think that was the final push to defeat Germany. So you look for the weakest, the chink in your opponent's armor. And Normandy Beach in France was that place where they felt that they could most penetrate and overrun the German defenses. So they concentrated all of the Allied forces, their energy on that Normandy Beach. So that's what you call the D-Day, the D-Day invasion. So we've taken that into business. So we talk about what's your beachhead. You establish a beachhead. So that's like your anchor. Even when the British and all these colonialists took over most part of the world, they came through the river and had this huge cannon. Boom, landed somewhere, and the villagers, everybody ran away, and they stole their things. They were scared, and they were very superstitious. They thought about, like, oh, maybe this is Armageddon coming, and things like that. So you need to ask yourself at that beginning, like, okay, you have all of this landscape. You could be anywhere, but then even if you were government, so I mean, no matter how big, you don't have the resources to be everywhere. You needed to ask yourself certain questions. What's my starting point? Where is my beachhead? Where do I establish my beachhead? Where's my so one Nigeria, obviously, for a lot of factors. So we had like, okay, what are the segments you could go after? So you say Nigeria, and why Nigeria? I know the system. I have a lot of, and this is also very relevant to how we've made progress. You start with you go from the known to the unknown, and where do you start?
Yeah.
From the people you know, the people around me.
Immediate
So yeah,
contact.
so I knew a few people who owned schools, friends who went to university with, and all of that. That who were interested. So those were the first people. I remember some of them even give us money, where we hadn't even created any course, any module. So it's trust. You understand? It's trust. It's people who believe in you. And if you look at the stories of most startups, it's like that. There are people who jump in not because of they don't believe the stuff you're saying.
Saying, but the
It's your
person,
person. They know you. They trust you. And sometimes just maybe you're just being a nuisance. They just want to get rid of you. That see, take this. Don't disturb me. Like at least for so many reasons, whatever it
yes,
is. So that's kind of how we got that early traction. And those were the teachers we started with, and their experience, the testimonials they shared, became something that attracted other people. That wow, okay, you know, and all of that. And of course, we had credibility from working with good institutions like
um,
Queens and all of that. So yeah,
super amazing.
yeah.
So today, what does the number say?
We're about 60,000 odds all through, both online and offline. One of our big breaks was when we implemented the Global Partnership for Education program during COVID. Uh, for
GPA.
GPE on behalf of GPE for it was UNICEF and the federal government. So that was, I think I would say that was our coming of age time. We had 185,000 students, 3,500 teachers in Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto. Yeah, three states. I think how many local government per state? Yeah, it was really good. So
Yes.
it gave us some um, push forward in terms of having to develop organizational capacity and all of that. So about 60,000 odd teachers in places where sometimes you see the data and you're like, where is this coming from?
From
About 18 countries and keep spreading.
18
Like, yeah,
countries in Africa.
mainly Africa. We have in India a few, in places like Mauritius, Madagascar, Cape Verde, and Pakistan. Obviously, my co-founder Rizma is from Pakistan. So there's that, and yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of how. Yeah.
So from pedagogy to this success, I found out that you added some component to it, like the program with MS Sanusi.
Yeah.
How did you bring such
Yeah.
influential voices into the movement?
Yeah. Um, you know, you and this is the story of most organizations. Like you have a core product, right? Like there is something that you want to do, but then you begin to see pathways towards achieving that. Um, um, in business lingo, we call it flywheel. So you have this thing that enables this thing, and then enables this thing,
Yes.
and then they kind of reinforce themselves. Um, so we talk about shortage. There's no way you can train a million people. You understand? And we also know the limitation of technology, so we had to layer it with other initiatives to strengthen the core of what those teachers are getting. So the Black Belt program, which is our signature program, is the basic. You understand? It's like your ticket to the arena, and then you build from it. Um, so we wanted teachers to own it. We wanted them to become educational leaders. We wanted them to have a voice, to be able to own their space, and in the process inspire others. And we wanted it to be homegrown. We don't want people to come from anywhere to tell a teacher in a rural village somewhere how to solve problem in their community.
So
Yeah,
contextualized.
exactly. So yes, you can have a bare minimum, the basic, but what do you do with it? How do you adapt it to your own situation? So that was really the thinking. Like if we're gonna make change, it has to happen from the grassroots. You understand? Starting with leadership in your classroom, inspiring your students, obviously, but within your school. Then how about your immediate community? So that was really the thinking, and we started that challenge um, for our black belts. It was supposed to be in-house before, but we felt that it will be a disservice to every other teacher. Let's blow it up. Let's open it up to other educators who are not necessarily black belts. And we've been very lucky from the get-go to have people. And I think, and this is to anybody who is listening, sometimes we talk about our deepest fear. You showing up, uh, doing what you feel is needed, you're automatically giving other people permission,
To
even though you
render
have
their
fear.
way.
Exactly. So your light eventually liberates others. We talk about our deepest fear, not that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light. You know, our light threatens us, scares us. But if we can overcome those fears, we're automatically giving others permission. So that kind of the thinking behind it. How do we get these teachers to inspire? So I think uh, there are many people who have come to us that, wow, this is really audacious. 1 million, how can I be part of this? I think sometimes when we're bold and we go out, we inspire like-minded people. I have many, many friends. You've met Patrick, you met Cynthia, you met so many people who were part of all of it at the beginning. So many good people. The story of 1 million teachers, yes, I might be the face of it that people know, but there are so many people who have
Yeah.
enabled us to get there. And His Highness is one of them. And everybody who knows him knows his passion for education, particularly when it
Education,
comes to girls,
girl child.
and all of that. So it was an easy decision for him to not only be on the advisory, but also chair it, but also lend his name to that initiative to blow this innovation program for teachers up in a way that opens it up to teachers in other parts of
Thank you so much. So many people behind the scene that have supported the growth.
yeah.
But tell us about your co-founder. How did you meet?
Well, so um, I think uh, for Risma is we were all at Queen's University, their innovation program, the Masters in Enterprise and Innovation program, and it's all about also when you talk about what you're working on. Everybody was working on different things that they wanted to do. For me, it was uh, that thing I couldn't get off my head. You understand? The truth of the matter is that honestly, I feel like entrepreneurship education. Um, um, Myself and Patrick, my friend, we talk about this Swiss Army knife. Um, you can apply it. The principles are the same. You can apply it to any situation. So when I came to Queen's University, I felt that wow, I'm paying this huge amount of money for a master's program. It had better count for something, and it had to be something that you know that bothers me, that I'm passionate about. And you probably I've told you before how I only switch on and switch off when I need to, and that's how I am. I find it hard to be lukewarm. It's either I'm on
Off.
or cold. Once I switch off, I'm off completely. I'm disinterested, and so it has to be something that fires me up, and it has to be something that is such a the magnitude of the challenge has to be big enough that I asked myself that 10 years down the line, would I still be interested in this? Is this, you understand? And what we're trying to do is help move the needle of progress just a bit, because I don't think we can solve it. Just us alone. It has to involve everybody, a whole lot of people, institutions, and all of that. So that's really the thinking. And it was interesting. There was a friend who said, "Oh wow, this is. Can I join? Can I? So I mean, it's a master's program. You have to do research. You have to do so many stuff. Uh, pitches and just so many stuff, sharing the ideas and Wisma also shortly after a friend Wisma said, "Oh wow, I can relate with this. I'm originally from Pakistan. You have similar context as Nigeria. Nobody has exactly the same context, but they're kind of similar, right? Yeah.
Yes,
So
especially in
that
the
kind of thing. So
developing
so you see the
countries.
passion from them. So it's for them, for her also. It's that kind of calling, like wow, this is something I can get behind. This is something I can. So and then you know that you need all the help you can get. People bring all kinds of skill sets to the table, and so when you have talented people like that who are as passionate, and they're driven, so it's yeah. So and then yeah,
Um,
we've been through a lot.
Amazing. So seamless alignment.
Yeah. So there's alignment of purpose. Yeah, passion, uh, purpose, and then just asking yourself, like, how does this fit into, who you are as a
Yes.
person? We talk about ikigai. You know ikigai, right?
Yes.
The Japanese, and Covey calls it finding your voice in the eighth habit. That's another book that I actually, when I do my training, I actually buy to give every participant, and we've
Yes.
incorporated it into the 1 Million Teacher
It changed my
program.
life
Yeah,
actually.
Seven Habits. It's so like probably the most influential book apart from whatever religious book that you're reading ever. Like you can read it 50 times, you think you understand it, you need to go back. So there's a follow up on that, which is the eighth habit, and where Steve Covey talks about um, passion, conscience, need. What's the other one? Uh, um, talent. So those four. And if you look at that Venn diagram
Yeah.
where all of them intersect, within that intersection is where you find your voice, or what the Japanese call the ikigai. So if all of those align, then you know you're onto something. And for me, that was the convergence. I felt like, wow. So it's almost like everything, all of my life's experiences, my education, everything was aligning here. So it's easy from then on.
Do we have Pakistanis taking
Yeah, yep,
the
yep,
program? Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
It's building. Yeah.
I will keep it.
As I'd like to say, for me, charity begins at home. I feel
Actually,
like and I'm sorry, I have to quote Covey. I quote Covey a lot. He talks about private victory preceding public victory. If you don't win within, you can't win without. And
that one is a four.
it's so fundamental. So um, it's not impossible that we won't start from Nigeria. You know, like come on, this is the core. This is what you saw. You know, so yeah.
Okay. Finally, as we close home, what is the future for 1 million teacher? What next?
You want me to let the cat out of the bag?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I won't give too much details. But we're onto something, the most ambitious thing any one of us collectively as a group ever have embarked on. Um, yes, a lot of what we do is um, leveraging technology to, you know, to deliver our programs. But we also know that you need a curated space. You need to create an experience. Um, I'm a passionate believer in learning by immersion, learning through osmosis. Like, um, in fact, at my school, on the floor, everywhere you go, that's Tiny Tot when we started. The whole mantra of learning being formed, that you have to be learning as if you're not learning. You have to not be aware that you're learning. You
Learning.
have to learn for learning's sake. Do you understand? You have to read for reading's sake, not for anything. That's when, that's when it has to be joyful. And that's kind of the thing that I've always, like, I know my nature. And honestly, you can't separate the DNA and the personality of the people who found the company with the organization. It's
True.
almost like, yeah, it's kind of deeply spiritual. And um, it has to be like that. It has to be auto. You can't. It can't be work. If it's work, then you've lost a lot of people. So that's the kind of experience. That's the next chapter for us. We wanted to be able to create that kind of space, a space that brings something like that to life, where just you being there is learning in and of itself. You understand? um, Without even you thinking it, like you see your worldview changing, your mindset changing, like you're inspired, you get bolder, you want to do more. And that's the next chapter. It's a humongous project. We're building our own 1MT village.
Oh, interesting. What would
Yeah,
that look like?
probably, yeah, something getting close to 400 acres of land that it's sitting on, probably bigger at some point. So one of the big issues is really, I mean, you look at societies that have done very well for themselves, a whole lot of it has to do with value system.
True.
And honestly, don't even try to do the hard stuff. And there's a reason why we talk about soft skills, and these are transferable skills, and um, yeah, you need to work on the values, the mindset, and all of that. So we feel like it's something that is almost lost. I won't say it's completely lost, but almost. uh, that the majority of the ills you see in the society is as a result of this. Uh, Wealth without work, all of that. Um, we wanted to create that experience, and we feel it's possible. Um, 1 Million Teacher was very scary. It's been a scary undertaking, but we've done it afraid. We've
With all this
Yeah, we've done
result.
it afraid. So while this is even bigger, more on paper challenging, um, I think we've developed enough internal capacity and enough goodwill and enough confidence to pull it off. So that's the next chapter. In the next few months, you probably will be seeing snippets of teasers and all of that, but that's the future for us, and it kind of is the biggest flywheel of them all that is going to accelerate the race to 1 million.
Thank you so much, Hakeem. Edugist will be here to share that story and to visit because saying it, what comes to my mind is the education city in Doha, 9 global universities, plenty of kindergartens. There's an innovation city, there is a hub. It's one of the biggest and the finest thing I've seen. And recently I also went to the Hong Kong Education City. So thank you for bringing something like that to Africa. We wish you the best.
Thank you.
Chrisman Bott, Assistant Professor, Project Manager, Strategist, Educator, Marketer, Social Innovator, Co-founder, and of course, Chief Operating Officer, 1 Million Teacher. Akim, your co-founder, spoke so greatly of you and why you were the perfect match to drive this deal. A very stellar resume. Tell us about you.
Oh, okay. I would say I started off jumping in different professions, I would say, from the very beginning, picking which career I really want to go with. But I always was very passionate to do something for the humans, like for the people around me. Like when I was in Pakistan, I knew like when I'm going to grow up, I need to do something which makes an impact in the lives of the people so I can help them and give back to my community. So I started off actually doing like if I talk my high school, I did bio, then I jumped into business and did law. And then in my undergrad I did double majors economics and finance and then I came to Smith at Queens in
So,
Canada.
before coming to
Yeah.
Queen's, all this back in Pakistan.
Yes, all of this was back in Pakistan. So my basic education is from Pakistan, but I've done my master's from Canada at Queen's University.
Okay.
And I have like good experience in project management and marketing from Pakistan as well. So when I graduated back in 2014, that was the era when e-commerce actually came into existence. So it was pretty new in Pakistan itself that people were not comfortable, shopping online, making cash on delivery, or using their credit cards. So I was actually in the beginning, the start of the era of e-commerce. So I learned like so much from there, which helped me develop my interest in having my own business and not doing a 9 to 5 job, but I wanted to enhance my skills and learn more about what business is, what startup is. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs as well.
Amazing.
So it's actually my genes as well. But I just wanted to do something at a bigger scale because I was like, why just for my country? Why can't I impact, globally as well? What could be out there for me? So I came to Canada, did my master's, and I was working on another project while Hakeem was working on 1 million teachers. At that time, it was called Easy Access. It was not called 1 million teachers. So I was working on another business which was called Emora, which basically works towards immigrants who are coming into Canada and help them ease their transition into a different culture, then connect them with other people who are already within Canada. But then I actually learned about easy access and the impact it's making, and the education and how important education is, and what are the gaps in the education globally as well, which was I already knew, but I never knew it's like such a big global problem. And then like Hakeem and I, we sat and we chatted like for like hours about, the problems that we have in education in our countries. And we both were like, wow, we have the same issues. Maybe some are more, some are less, but we're people from different countries, but we have the same issue, which is teacher shortage, demotivation. Teachers are not motivated at all. They're underpaid, and there's a huge gap in like professional development of teachers as well. So hence that's where I actually joined the mission and the vision of Hakeem for 1 million teachers.
Super amazing. And so, just like he said, there was a perfect alignment. So, how has it been getting together. He talked about 1 million teacher being in the air. So picking
Mhm.
it up from nothing to where it is, how's that been?
I would say it was overwhelming, very exciting as well because like we always used to talk, like he used to tell me that was not I like wake up in the middle of the night, I sweat, like am I on the right path? Like is this the right decision to actually go this way? And I was like the same, but I think we knew what the future is going to look like. We know that obviously you can't get the success or you can't actually tap into all the issues at once. So we looked into things that we can actually fix immediately. And the things that we even work towards, are they even actually going to be resolved or not? So we actually classified what's best for us to approach. And we thought like, okay, we should start working on teachers and how we can approach teachers. And thankfully, he had a school, he was a school owner, which actually helped us tap into Nigeria. And the reason why we wanted to go in sub-Saharan Africa is, as you know, as of February 2024, according to UNESCO, there's a shortage of 44 million teachers. And sub-Saharan Africa has the biggest hit, which is of 14 million. So we sat down and we said, okay, how can we, bridge that gap? We talked about the triple challenge that we have: attracting new teachers to the training profession, the working and training the untrained teachers, and working on ongoing professional training for the professional teachers, I would say. So far, my journey with 1 million teachers is amazing. Like I was literally standing yesterday. We had a graduation where 120 black belts graduated. So after the event was done, the closing was done. I actually stood there for a while. I had tears in my eyes. I saw the teachers. They were so happy.
Amazing.
They were happy, celebrating, and that's exactly what Hakeem and I will always want to achieve. To see a big smile, the achievement, and give the best of the best to the teachers.
Were you in Ibadan on Friday as well?
I was.
What
I
was
was.
that experience like?
It was amazing. I was blown away with, you know, how well people know that there's a problem and they want to work towards it. And they're now standing together to resolve it. And they're joining our mission as well. So it's very like eye-opening for me to see like, yes, people are aware, but people are always looking for resources and how they can actually make it better. You always need, some kind of holding hand sometimes to take it to another level.
My next question, bigger question, but before then, because of 1 million teacher, you've been coming to Nigeria a lot, right?
This is my second trip. My first trip was very short. So it was peak of COVID. I came, I stayed at the hotel, and I left. So I actually tell people that I'm going to Nigeria for the first time, but I've been to Kenya and I've been to South Africa.
Have you eaten Nigeria food?
Yes.
Which of them?
Which one? Suya is my favorite so far. So Hakeem still owes
It's
me.
spicy.
It's
Are you
okay.
used to that in
Yes, I'm
Pakistan?
from Pakistan. I'm from Punjab, and we eat really spicy food. And fisherman soup is my
Oh,
favorite so far.
amazing. And
Yeah.
you ate that in Lagos.
Yes, I had it yesterday.
I hope someday you go to Niger Delta, the home of it. So
Right.
typically 1 million teachers. Run us through some of your courses and then the process to black belt.
So we have divided into two journeys for our black belts. The first one is the black belt program, which starts with the white belt, ends with the black belt, and it's all based on pedagogy and soft skills. So like critical thinking and lesson planning. So these are all the courses that we work towards. Girl-child education, and we're also developing a parental engagement course as well. So they go through like 10 different belts, which have different modules, and it's self-paced, is free for teachers, and they have lifetime access. So that's their first journey. So once they finish, they become a black belt. And then we do this graduation where we celebrate our teachers, we give them few incentives, and then comes phase two, which is called Journey of Empowerment. In Journey of Empowerment, they have mentorship, they get different projects that they get involved in, and they get different opportunities to help them to grow as well, different aspects. They work on different projects where there's travel involved as well. We take them from one country to the other to work on different projects, which are all paid as well. Even the mentorship program is paid. So the HP mentorship program is basically you become a mentee, and next year or the next cohort, you can apply to be a mentor.
Mentor.
So you're learning to be a mentor as well. So we're helping them upscale or polish their skills in mentorship.
I'm interested in the naming black belt. I mean, what brought about that?
I'll be honest, I'll give the credit to Hakeem for that. It's based on the karate level. So he just
Okay.
wanted like, each level goes from like white to green, orange, pink. It gets harder and harder. And same is the case here. Like when we were in Kenya, like teachers were literally saying like, wow, orange belt was like so hard that there were some teachers who cried while doing orange belt. Just like
Yes.
karate, when you're going higher level, it gets difficult to achieve. The same is here. Same as here.
So while leveling, totally free.
It's totally free for teachers. We even have, for example, if you don't want to do the black belt program, we also have few standalone programs as well, or courses, I would say, like on gender responsiveness, parental engagement, read aloud, which we have created in collaboration with Girl Rising and NABU. And that's free for any educator. You don't have to be a teacher, but if you want to learn, you can actually enroll in those programs.
How are you people able to do this for free?
Thing is, we analyze and we learn that it's very hard for teachers who are not even paid and underpaid to pay for these kinds of resources. So, we decided to actually, get people on board, look for different sponsors and funding who would fund us to actually get scholarship for these teachers. So we tell them that this is a scholarship-based program. So we're the ones who are looking for scholarships for them.
Also, in education, especially in Africa, teachers, even if you offer them something for free, they hardly will take it. But that has not been the case in 1 million teacher, except maybe that was the case earlier. What do you think you people got right to motivate people? I was there yesterday and
Hmm.
it's an army of people.
Yes.
And then there's another city.
Yes.
There was somewhere before yesterday. I knew about this in Rwanda, like I
Hmm.
mentioned to Akin. What did you guys do in terms of the teacher mindset, which is
Hmm.
also identified as a key global issue?
I'll be honest, we learn from our mistakes as well. And in the end, we realize that storytelling is very impactful. When people tell their story, it inspires many others you don't even know. So if we went to a school where there was a black belt, they inspired their other teachers and motivated them to become one of million teachers. And then they learned from another school that there's a teacher who's a black belt and he's going through mentorship and the facilities and they're having graduation, they're being celebrated, they're being motivated. They're like, I want to be part of this program. What is it? So it creates curiosity for people.
Super amazing. Akin talked about all the successes. What have been the challenges?
Oh, there are many challenges. Getting the scholarships and funds. The platform that we use is also very expensive. A lot of resources go in. We have our instructor designers who put their heart and soul in writing and creating the content for the teachers. So I would say, getting the right resources, getting the right board team, getting the right funds, and obviously to travel and to talk to people. That these are all like the challenges that actually come in. But the biggest challenge is always, sustainability and the finances.
Chief Operating Officer, I know you have teams in Canada and team in Nigeria, and you are the engine room. How has that journey been?
Amazing. I feel really proud because when I graduated, and Hakeem and I, we always talked about this, like we have to wear different hats. One day we're going to be an accountant, one day we're going to be an HR, one day you're a CEO, one day you're a COO. So we have to wear different hats, and we learned. We learned, and we were never afraid to take a step. I think we were risk takers. We said, we know we can do it. It's going to maybe take us more time, but we never let anything stop us from moving forward, I would say. And I've been loving the journey. And I tell people that I always say like how Hakeem and I relationship works is basically he's the body, I'm the bone.
Interesting.
Yes, that's how
Body and bone.
I'm both. Yes.
One question before we take this back is licensing of teachers across Africa. Teachers go to school for their bachelors of education, they license.
Hmm.
Who license the people that go through the black belt program, and why is that valid?
Who license? So basically, we work in collaboration with Queen's University Faculty of Education.
I
So
say,
they're the ones writing all the content. So they're our backbone in content writing with us. So
okay,
it's all the content provided by 1 million teachers in collaboration with Queen's University. So that's our biggest license. And Queen's University has a very reputation worldwide, globally as well. And then we work with local governments as well. Yes, obviously, working with government is always challenging, it's always delayed. But we were like, okay, let's not stop there. Let's not run after the government. Because when they're going to see the noise, when they're going to see and hear the stories, they're going to come to us so that we can make 1 million teachers as a part of the curriculum of teachers. And that's been happening in different parts of the world, in Africa, I would say, especially, that in Nigeria, even in Kenya, I went to South Africa to actually do some business development, and they had the same issue that we have so many courses that we have to take on professional development. So, do you think we're going to get credits for this black belt program that we're going to do? And one of the principals was like, I hope it's not credited. And I asked her why. She's like, because I just don't want this to be enforced on teachers. It's such a enriched and amazing program. I want them to really take it and learn something out of this beautiful program that you guys have created.
This problem, teachers' quality and training, the 3Ds, data, data, devices, and serving people from especially sub-Saharan Africa. How have you been able to manage the challenges around devices and data?
So, two things. So, our courses are bite size. And secondly, you can use a phone to actually do our online learning. You don't need to have a laptop. We recently launched an app as well, which is 1 Million Teachers app, which makes it even easier. And for some, I would say, communities where there's no internet access at all, we do have learning hubs where they can learn all the content that we have online, offline as well. Like Hakeem said earlier as well, we have like around about 60,000 teachers right now, which is all online teachers. So yes, data is a big challenge, and we want to work with different telecom companies as well, where they can provide free data so they can use start our learning platform. But that's still in works. But we try our best to make the data in bite size so it doesn't use a lot of the internet.
Was this a consideration for your anchor school program?
Yes.
How many are there?
Oh, we have many anchor schools programs, like I would say 30 plus. 30 plus. You have to have minimum, we had 20 to 25 minimum black belts in order to qualify as an anchor school. But now we have put 50 because
So 2025 from one school.
one school in order to become an anchor school.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Super
Minimum.
amazing.
But that
Awesome.
actually also motivates them to have more and more black belts from their school as well.
Super interesting. I like the model.
Yeah. And we do, sorry to cut you off, like we do incentivize our black belts who have been really working hard in, in doing something. Like we give them free laptops, we surprise them with different gifts, different gadgets, and we try to actually, motivate and help them in the best possible way we could do. But you need to be a black belt in order to get the perks, I would say.
Teachers, HP laptop, for example, is very expensive. Go and be a
Yes.
black belt so that they can surprise you. Thank you, Risman. As we close on this show, there is a solution box where you identify one problem in your country and continent about education and propose solution. Pakistan, Southeast Asia, one big educational problem.
So when?
I mean, taking Pakistan as a use case, identify one educational problem
One educational problem.
and propose
Wow.
solution.
The thing is, I would say it would be my perspective, or
Yeah, sure.
what I've seen growing up is a problem. There are many problems, I'll be honest. There's like girl child education, there is like no infrastructure for schools, there are no good teachers, there's no check and balance on education as well. On the government only actually keeps a check and balance or works towards education is only when the elections are here. And then they disappear.
In Pakistan too.
In Pakistan too, I'm telling you.
I thought,
So,
okay, we
and
have brothers here.
girl child education is a big issue. We also have Boko Haram in our country. It's a big issue. Like in the northern parts where the parents or the community is not educated, they say that girls are basically not made to go to school. They're supposed to stay home, do the house chores, take care of the family, and then they get married even before they turn 18. Like we have major big problems in our country as well. And trust me, they might be like a little worse or a little better than in some parts in Africa, but we have very similar issues in education as well. Even like for example, once a girl gets married, she's been told not to work. Maybe she was a doctor. So there's lack of education, I would say, in people as well, and good quality education.
So how do we fix that?
Yeah, I hope so too.
How do we fix it?
How do we fix it? I would say it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a long process, and we always talk about it actually works in a partnership. It can't be a one-man show.
Very true. Usman Broad, co-founder, chief operating officer, 1 million teacher. Thank you for being on the Africa Education Show.
Thank you for having me.
As we close on the Education Africa show, there's what we call the solution box.
Okay.
On the solution box, you identify two problems, one for your country, in your case, Nigeria, and one problem for the continent, Africa, and then you provide solution. The biggest problem you see in education.
Biggest problem in education. So, um, if you go to a carpenter for a solution, you know what solution to a problem, you know what the carpenter will bring? Nail and hammer. If you go to a doctor, what would you get? Stethoscope. So people have perspective,
Yeah,
you know, and we need to be careful. Yeah, exactly. So obviously you'll be talking about teachers, right? But let me take it further, and this applies to not only Nigeria but everything else. Um, we talk about schooling, not the same thing as learning. Um, how do we make learning happen rather than schooling? And schooling is learning can happen anywhere. We talk about even within 1 million teachers about boundaryless. Um, the classroom, is it a physical structure or wherever learning happens? So that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping, that's something that I feel like um, would interest me for a very long time to come. Um, I'm beating around the bush. I hope you allow that. We talk about things that need to happen for learning to happen. Mm. Um, one is having learners who are ready to learn. And ready to learn includes making sure that they have the cognitive capacity. Nutrition, food, good food is part of it. Making sure that there is input. You understand? Like school input, classrooms. But I also talked about boundaryless, you see. So there's a contradiction there. Anyway, but that's one of the key components. Learning materials. We talk about curriculum that is relevant to the society, to the reality of the situation. We talk about effective leadership, whether at within within the school and at the Ministry of Education or whatever level. And finally, we talk about effectiveness of the teacher. So you see, 1 million teacher is tackling just a component. Whatever anybody else is doing, let them focus on it. You understand? You can't solve every problem, but you can pick one and focus. So it's teacher effectiveness.
6 problems.
Do you understand?
Pick one.
Yeah, exactly. So I will go for teachers. I feel like it's so foundational to everything else. And it's the biggest leverage. It's where you get the biggest bang for your buck that you spend. Every investment in teacher has a huge multiplier to every other. So when I go back to what I started with talking about boundaryless is that, and we did it with the UNICEF program. We had classes under the tree. We had classes in mosques, in churches, halls, anywhere learning could happen. You understand? Learning can happen where you and I can be taking a walk, and you probably get the most learning than sitting in a classroom. You see, boundaryless again. Whether you're doing it through tablets or you're delivering through immersive technologies, whatever it is that you're doing, it's learning. But you still need a teacher for kids. We're talking about basic education, foundational education. Teachers who have that awareness that it can happen anywhere. I don't really need a classroom. We talked about even teaching technology without the technology tools. Some people think you can't teach technology without, so it's all of that. So for me, that would be my own
So
solution.
summary, we need to improvise.
Yes.
One problem we must fix as a continent for education to work.
Yeah. One problem
That we must fix at the continental level.
Um,
Just one.
just one. Values.
Moral education.
I won't say moral education. I'm talking about even mindsets. Um, I think, and I can speak for Nigeria, and I think I can speak for most part of Africa and most part of the world. We talk about your altitude determining your attitude determining your altitude. A lot of that has to do with people's orientation changing. If we focus on those soft stuff, then it's easy to build the hard stuff. And I think that's where it needs to start. I would say that initially, the soft skills, critical thinking, collaboration, all of that, should be a core. And then you can teach anybody anything who is ready. They say when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
Yeah, you can teach anybody once they have the right set. In fact, you don't need to teach them; they will find their path because they are already inspired. So I'm gonna flip it. You're telling everybody's story. I've had snippets of your own powerful story. I think somebody should put you on the hot seat very soon.
Someday.
I'll be willing to do that.
We will set it up. So, Hakeem Subair, co-founder, 1 Million Teacher, thank you for coming to the show.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'm really inspired by what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.